Hello, my name is Braganowski.
And I'm Austin Morales, and you're watching The Inner Gamer On.
And today we are having a discussion on Marvel's Avengers versus Destiny. These are two live service games that definitely one was inspired by the other, but which one is taking it a better direction? Will they survive going forward? How are they handling things? This is basically the path forward for live service games. So there's a lot of good pros and cons coming from both of these, and we want to talk about all of them and compare the two. So here we go. Let's dive on in.
And as always, if you enjoyed this content, please like, subscribe, and bang that bell, because you know you want to.
Each week, we dive into a hot topic about video games, and this week, we're going to talk about Marvel's Avengers versus Destiny. So as you all know, we've been playing through some Marvel's Avengers lately. We talked about our full review of the game last week, minus some of the endgame content because we hadn't quite finished it yet. So if you didn't listen to last week's podcast, you should put this on pause and go back to last week's podcast and listen to that full review in which we talk about the entirety of the game. In this edition, we are going to be talking a little bit more into the post-game content after you finish the campaign and what it's all like, as well as our comparisons to Destiny and just kind of looking at the pros and cons and what this game did good, what this game did bad. But there's a lot of like activities to do, but there definitely is. I mean, how do you feel, Austin, after we've been playing for a week? Like, have you felt the grind like early, or do you feel like it's still kind of keeping your interest, or what are your thoughts like in comparison to Destiny? How this ramp up occurred in this game versus like what you remember your experience being with Destiny like the first couple weeks.
Yeah. Well, the campaign was actually pretty short. I was surprised. Yeah, probably like 10 hours, if that.
Yeah.
And so you get that pretty quick, which is fine. There's some good moments and stuff. And then getting into the end game of doing all these other side quests, like it's nice that there's actually still kind of a story going on here. And it's not just like Destiny where it's like, hey, go in, get your dailies, your weeklies, go do some stuff that you've already done a million times. You've already done this or that. And it's just like, all right, just doing this over again, over and over and over. Same old thing. Nothing new has changed unless you're doing like a new season thing or something like that. So, I mean, that's been nice. Like, it's nice to know that like there's things to check off. There's new cutscenes to see. We haven't seen the whole game already.
Yeah.
And I really like that. So it's still pretty fresh for me. And I haven't felt the grind yet.
I mean, it's like kind of when you're playing, in Destiny, like what do you have? You have the Vex, you have the Fallen, you have the Taken, right? Isn't it the Taken?
Yeah, Taken.
So there's not a lot of different enemy types there either, which I didn't think about. But I mean, if you really look at it, like the enemy types in Destiny are very minor. It's just that their locations, I feel like, are a little bit more different. Like you have different planets that you go to. There's like 6 or 7 different planets you can travel to, and there's more personalities, more of a character, I guess, to each world, and they're a bit bigger. Their open world aspects feels like they're larger than this one is. Like this one is, for the most part, pretty small, and you can kind of go through the whole entire map like in 15 minutes. But what I like about in Destiny, like you have those lost sectors, which are whole other like regional areas that are like hidden deep in the depths of like an open world map, and they just makes it feel much more vast. And in this one, you don't have lost sectors. You have like their equivalent of lost sectors in Avengers is basically the shield vaults. But yeah, the grind is it's a lot more similar to Destiny than I thought it was, in the fact that Destiny really did get kind of repetitive pretty quickly with their character types and stuff like that. It's just that their worlds are their environment design is incredible in Destiny. Like they do such a good job at like building the worlds and the environments in there that it just looks really, really nice, even though you're there 10,000 times. Yeah. And this one, it's like on the exterior, I mean, the Utah Badlands and the Pacific Northwest and stuff looks nice, but it's like, it looks like an outdoor, it's not a fantastical, mythical place you've never seen before. You've been to the Pacific Northwest. You've been to stuff that looks like Utah Badlands. We know what it looks like, and it's like kind of samey in the feel. So that's kind of a concern. And then same with like the aim missions. Like still, definitely at this point, I feel like I've been there and done that with their repeated types of interiors. Like they look very much the same.
Yeah, like when we go into a certain room or area or facility, like we know what to expect and we kind of know where the chests are going to be and the secret rooms and stuff like that are, because there's like little areas that you have to click certain buttons or shoot certain things that unlock a door.
Yeah, so it's like, which is really cool at the beginning, of like, discovering those things. I was like, oh, this is badass. This is badass. But then after you've done it like 5 times, it's like, okay, we know this pattern. We know what to do. We know how to handle it. And I was surprised at the chests that they don't vary those up more. Same with the shield vaults. Like once you find the shield vaults, they're in the same place, in the same worlds. And I thought they were going to be a little bit different. So that was a little shocking, but I'm still enjoying the grind of this game a lot more than I think more so than I do in Destiny. And I think the problem with Destiny is that I've lost interest in Destiny, and that there's so much in it now that I haven't been able to keep up with. So I don't know about all the different currencies. And
that's the thing with Destiny. It's just the inventory management sucks. It's not the best. And then your gear you're getting, you just kind of like the armor for Destiny is pretty straightforward. I feel like, you get exotic. It's like, okay, this is cool. But then like for the weapons, there's so much variation on them, at least in my perspective. Like I don't look at all the stats, or I look at the stats, but mostly you're trying to grind to that cap, that power level cap. And so for me, it's just kind of like, well, is this gun good? So I have to go try it. And there's just a lot of like time taken and investment, and even thinking about, okay, what are the different mods that are already on this gun? Is it the best gun? Like, it's not as good, but the mods are great. Like I have a rocket launcher that has an explosion at the end of it, and I haven't ever got a rocket launcher like that. It's like it shoots, there's an explosion, but then it releases like little small explosions, which do extra damage and area effect things. So it's like, this is a great rocket launcher, obviously, because of what it does. But sometimes you don't get that. Like you have to actually read, and then, there's so many variations of the same gun. It's like, which one's the best one? It's just so complicated, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And this is very straightforward. Like you're going to get a gear and it has X amount of, mods on it, or boosts or whatever. I guess they're called mods, huh?
Called perks.
Perks, yeah. And then you can unlock those perks, and you easily like understand the resources needed to unlock them, leveling them up as you go along. It's easy to see what they do. Like there's not a lot of thinking in it for the most part.
In Destiny, I always have an issue and a problem with, I find a piece of armor that I really, really like and the look of it, but I don't want to, I can't upgrade. There's only a point where I don't want to keep upgrading that armor because I keep getting better armor. And in this one, like there's been a lot of points of contention and people complaining about the fact that you can't cosmetically see the differences between your gear. And I'm kind of okay with that, because then I don't feel like wanting to keep this piece of armor that's so low level that I can't carry it forward.
Right.
And lose out on that visual aspect. Like in comparison to Avengers, like they don't have a battle pass, but they have challenge cards, which are unique to each character, which we've talked about previously a little bit. But every character is going to have a challenge card that's got 40 levels attached to it, and that's never going to change. So that character is always going to have that 40 level challenge card, and you unlock those cards either through progression in the game or by paying to advance your level with real money. But you don't have to. So if you play your weeklies and your dailies for each character, you can unlock points that will apply to your progression of your challenge card, and that will push you up further. And sometimes you unlock new nameplates that are specific to that character. Sometimes you get new takedowns, the different cosmetic items. So the cosmetics include emotes, takedowns, nameplates, and then skins. And those are basically the 4 types that you can unlock. And I think with each challenge card, you get like 4 to 6 skins. There's not a lot of skins you get out of it, but that's like if you beat the whole thing, that's the amount of skins you get. And the last one is going to be like your legendary, like epic level skin or whatever. And then you get upgrade modules and resources and stuff as you level up as well. So that's kind of a nice added bonus. But I don't mind it. I mean, I thought it was going to be kind of a nuance, because whenever I saw in the beta, I was like, oh, everything says free on it. So I thought they were going to add like a premium and then a free, but it turns out they didn't. It's just that if you want to advance those levels, you just pay money with your premium currency to then advance to the next level faster.
That must be their plan to get more money, I guess. Honestly, I didn't think most of the skins I've seen, even the legendary ones, are not even that impressive.
Yeah, there's not many, and it's hard because I feel like it's difficult to figure out how to. I mean, like there's a part of you that may want to just, for the sake of the fact that they're there, unlock every single skin that exists. Sure, But yeah, most of the skins that you can buy that are like rare or whatever just don't look that great. Especially considering when you beat the game, you get Stark Tech armor for all your characters. And that to me is like the best looking armor I've seen in the game.
I totally agree.
And it's like, shit, like I don't even know if I want to buy more skins but who knows? They might do. I mean, like with Destiny, you know, you get armor that you really like, and the next year they bring out a new set of armor that looks even better. So there might be something like that where they do, and they haven't announced if there's gonna be like seasonal content, like traditional seasons like there is in Destiny, and other live service games. We know that there's gonna be content drops, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but they haven't determined if there's gonna be like a particular season. But they did say that there's gonna be things called events, which I think are kind of like a season, but they're gonna be shorter term. And I think they were supposed to have already launched with an event, but because of all the problems with this game that they've had at launch with like, you know, just broken bugs and stuff, they haven't launched one yet. But I do know that I watched the War Table stream again yesterday, and they mentioned that there will be events coming that are like just like global stuff's going on. There's going to be special gear that's going to be timed exclusive to that event that you can unlock and stuff by competing and playing it through that event during that time period.
Right. Well, that'd be cool. Yeah. I mean, things like that would be cool. I mean, because Kate Bishop's going to come out and then Hawkeye's going to come out as like that. That could be a whole little mini storyline right there. Well, it is. It is going to be a mini storyline, but having that expand on the world and new things come up and new enemies and, you know, it's so easy. I say that. I mean, it might not be, but I feel like it's so easy content wise and like idea wise to be able to expand upon this in a way that, you know, maybe this will be like 100 gig game at the end of it. I don't know. You get all this cool stuff, new areas, even though there might not be so gigantic. But I mean, I'm curious to see where we end up in a year of content drops. Like how much more has been added onto that. Maybe it'll be the Destiny problem, where it's just like there's so much happening. But I think they do a good job of actually directing you to places. It's like, well, I need to complete this. Or it's like, get some of this epic gear by completing like one more villain sector. It's like, oh, hell yeah, I'm going to go do that right now. Like, it's not that hard.
Frustrates me about Destiny now is that you have bounties that you collect from like every type of person that's in the game. So you have bounties that are specific to worlds. You have bounties that are specific to the type of thing you're going to be doing. Well, there's bounties specific to guns. There's bounties specific to the Cryptarch, I think. There's bounties for like, you know, you're doing campaign stuff. There's bounties for Crucible stuff. There's bounties for every faction in the game. There's all kinds of bounties for everybody. And in this one, there's two sets of bounties. They come from the two different factions. And you start the game, you go into the Shields faction, you go to the Inhuman faction, you collect your bounties, which are like, there's 16 of them, and you just play the game. And they're so like light in their complexity. Like it's basically, you know, kill 20 of these guys with a power attack. Kill 10 of this or whatever. I don't have to think about what those are. I just have to collect them, and I achieve them as I progress through the game. And after I play a couple hours, like I've knocked through all but maybe 2 or 3 bounties, and then those last bounties I have left are pretty. Like one of them was play a mission that's challenge level 3 or higher. So it's like, okay, that's easy. I just find a mission with my friend and we play challenge level 3. So like I can complete them pretty effortlessly and get a lot of reward out of those completions every day. Which I like a lot. Yeah.
And I know Travis, he hates the gunsmith bounties because he wants to play his guns that he likes, right?
Yeah,
and he wants to level those up. But it's like, oh, well, now play with the side, or kill so many enemies with the sidearm, progress so much with, you know, a rocket launcher, and it just makes you vary up your gameplay. And it's just even worse was like, do arc damage. It's like, well, I can switch to my arc type, you know, subclass and or put on an arc weapon, right? And it's like, well, if I don't have an arc weapon, or my arc weapon really sucks, but I have to get these kills with it, right? You know, that just, for me, it clutters up your inventory. I just, everything that I have now just goes to the mailbox.
Yeah.
I can't collect anything. Like, I just can't do it. It has to go to the mailbox, and I have to put stuff away in my vault, and it's just, it becomes complicated. And I think that's one of the issues here. It's like, I know for sure that I don't need these armors in Avengers.
Yeah.
Like, I have the armor, it's good, and I'm going to level it up. Maybe I haven't really dug into it, but I do think, you know, the faction vendors that you get stuff from in Destiny, if you go talk to Zavala, he's going to give you stuff for, you know, doing strikes and stuff, or you go to the guy in charge of the Crucible, he's going to give you Crucible type gear, just going to help you with that specific. And I think that's what the same thing is in Avengers, is that you can get, the PIM stuff, or you can get the shield gear, you get the Stark tech. And I'm curious to see how those actually are being used. I'm actually thinking like, I need to get the Stark gear because it's going to help me here, help me there. And that's what I want to focus on,
Yeah, and that's a good point, because I haven't like really dove deep. Like I've purchased PIM gear, and it like shrinks people, which is kind of cool. Yeah. Like just seeing like shrink when you're like killing them and stuff like that. But I haven't thought about like, my build, I guess, necessarily of like how I'm going to like outfit my armor for a specific build type. And I know eventually we'll get into that point once we get towards like the end game where you're like 130, 140 or whatever, having to like kind of basically pick armor that's very specialized to the type of build that you put together. But I just haven't gone there yet. But I think that, it's nice that I don't have to think too much on that early on and just focus on just upgrading my gear and swapping stuff out. And, earlier you mentioned about, again, that rocket launcher gun that you really like. I think one thing that's nice about this game that makes it more accessible for me is that in that game, you have gear that you're upgrading both from your weapons and your armor. And so you have two gear sides that you're having to focus on. And then additionally with the guns, like you have your regular gun, you have your specialty damage gun, you have your heavy gun. And it's just a lot of stuff to manage. Whereas in this one, you have 4 slots plus your artifacts. And those are the things you're upgrading. But then you also have a separate tree that is really exciting to explore, which is a skill tree. Where in Destiny, you have a skill tree, but for me, it's very basic.
Oh, it's so basic.
You build it. It's like you have 3 pathways, and then after like
for each subclass, and that's about it. But in this one, it's a lot more robust, and it's not as robust as I thought it was gonna be when I first opened it. I was like, oh shit, look all the stuff I can unlock. But most of it's like you unlock the thing and you pick one of the 3 things that are there. But those things really change up the gameplay and like how your character is like outfitted. Because like I just made an ability where when I enter rage mode in my Hulk character, I now will drop health packs for my team. So when I'm knocking enemies down, it'll drop health packs so that my team, and that's one of the biggest things I've noticed is like we lose health a lot, which they call willpower in the game. So when I am killing people in rage, then it'll drop health regen packs for anybody to use that just like sits around there. So there's a more frequent drop of that. Or you can have him drop a hero the packs or whatever they're called that increase the speed that your hero abilities recharge. So there's those different types of drops that you can pick based on the type of build that you want to make. I have one that I just unlocked the other day that whenever I do Iron Man's his ability, that his support ability that basically is supposed to like kind of stun enemies in your area. It also lays down a shield. Overload. Arc overload. Yeah, it lays down a shield that you can shoot out of, but they can't shoot into. So you can like defend your team and stuff like that. So that's a very significant, kind of tool that you don't have to turn that on, but there's different options that are there in that ability for that support class, which I like that there's a lot of ways you can play these characters. And, later on, it's like, Black Widow and all these different people like can be very, very different the way you play them. And it's exciting to see them kind of progress and grow. A lot of good stuff in here that I think is just quality of life upgrades from like what Destiny has, just being confusing, but it's got bugs. It's got issues that I think they're going to have to iron out. And I'm getting to the point now where I'm pretty close, I think, to finishing all the content that's there, to where what I'm going to have to now do is just like grind the same levels over and over again. I do like in the iconic missions, there are some new areas that you haven't explored in the main game. Like I did a Black Widow one the other day that I go underwater to an underwater aim base, which was kind of badass. And that was hard. Like that was a hard mission, and it got some pretty good loot out of it. So there's some cool different places that I wish they would have like taken those areas and reused them in other drop zones and stuff like that. But really the drop zones and all that are basically like the same repeated areas that you've been to 5,000 times. Or the villain sector, it's like you're either, depending on where you are, it's the same location every single time. Yeah, man, it's so crazy because like this is a game that we weren't sure how this would be as a live service, and it definitely, it's got issues, but I feel like I still say this. I think the foundation is good, and if they can continue to upgrade it and make it better, and they stay supporting it, and Square Enix doesn't say like
let's just kill it or anything and like pull the plug
Yeah.
on it. I feel like the team is passionate about making this game better, and the content they have coming out, like I'm excited for. Like I think there's some good opportunities for enhancing the story quite a bit. You know, because there's definitely issues in the story that, you know, there's some things that I wish were answered. All right, we got to wrap this up. So, any last thoughts on Avengers versus Destiny and stuff like that? Like at where we are right now, like, do you feel this can become another Destiny, or like how do you feel about this game at its current state?
Yeah, I think it can become another Destiny. Obviously, it lacks some things that I think it could pull from Destiny, but for the most part, I think it's got a lot of the. It's a little more mainstream, I want to say, which is surprising because I feel like Destiny's pretty mainstream in the way how it plays and everything functions together.
Yeah,
but I think they really polished up some of those edges that Destiny needs to be polished, and it's pretty straightforward and it's fun. And there's nothing more fun than jumping in with your friends and battling out as superheroes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I feel similar. Like I Destiny did such a good job of coming up with an original world that has never been seen before. The story still sucks in most cases, I feel like. I think that's kind of the difference here, is that Avengers has such a rich history already established that it's a lot easier to come up with stuff that works well within that universe. But it's also difficult because you have to, you know, keep in mind of the history and pay homage to it and respect it, and not just like totally derail anything. And but they managed to do a good job with that, with like, you know, keeping true to these characters and these different, like the aim. I mean, I didn't realize how much of this was like directly pulled from comics, and it's very, very accurate to that. But you know, it's definitely got some progression loops in there, as long as they just fix some of this bullshit breaking stuff that's happening in the multiplayer components. I think they're going the right track. So